while to get a whole watering system like this attachment to this hose that you plug in somewhere. But I just want to show you how much water I give each tray to roughly give you an idea how much you would use if you were using a watering can or a spray bottle. You can get pump spray bottles, which would be about the same amount of output as this. And so just pay attention to the volume of water coming out and how long I stay over each tray to give you an idea of how much you want to water each day. You don't want to have puddles, and of course, if you're watering, this is just to water once a day. You don't need to water more than once a day, except for, unless you notice it's too dry at a certain point. Approximately 5 seconds on each tray. It's not long at all. Now it's the same for each type of sprout. With the wheatgrass, ideally you'd have holes in the bottom. Wheatgrass can take a little bit more water. If you see any sprout being wilty or not growing properly, it might need a bit more water than you're currently giving it. So the whole process of taking a seed, soaking it, sprouting it, planting it, and then getting to the point of being able to harvest it for sprouts, for tray sprouts like these, is that it's going to vary depending on your climate, your temperature. The hotter the temperature, the quicker it's going to grow. The colder and drier the climate, the slower it's going to grow. And it takes roughly 7 to 10 days. So anywhere within that range is what you're going to find is how long it takes to be ready. And I'm just going to show you how to harvest the wheatgrass, and it's the same for all the sprouts except the sunflower. You're going to want to wear plastic or like the medical dentist gloves, or those gloves that cover your hands to prevent there's a juice in the sunflower sprouts that actually stains your skin yellow, and if you're harvesting large amounts of it, you're going to look like you've been smoking like 60 packs a day or something. And the other thing to note is that it's best to harvest a sprout or wheatgrass when it's ready and not let it keep on growing and just harvest it as you're eating it or consuming it, because its nutrient composition and flavor is going to be changing. The bigger they get, the more fibrous and tougher they get, harder to digest, especially with like pea shoots. They get quite stringy and not so pleasant to eat. And with the wheatgrass, it gets more and more bitter and unpleasant and can make you more nauseous. So really the ideal time is when it's at that 8 or 9 day range. And when you bag them up, because you're going to want to store them in the fridge for 2 to 3 days, 4, 5 max. This would be a wheatgrass bag. It's just a normal Ziploc bag. It doesn't breathe at all, so there's no holes in it. Whereas for the other 3 types of sprouts, there's little holes in the bag so that it can breathe. And that's the only difference you need to keep in mind, is the wheatgrass needs to be completely sealed, whereas the other sprouts need to be able to breathe in the bag. So that's the buckwheat, sunflower, and pea shoots need to be able to breathe. So I'm just using a ceramic knife. That's really the best thing you can use if you're harvesting on a regular basis. It's going to preserve the bottom ends of the sprouts that you're cutting, so they're not going to oxidize as quickly, because the ceramic doesn't start the oxidation process like a metal knife does. But if you only have a metal knife, do it with that. And if you want to invest in a ceramic knife at some point, it's a great idea, because they'll last longer in the fridge. They won't get the brown tips like I just mentioned. And it's quite simple. You just grab a bunch of the sprouts like this, and start cutting. Ceramic knives are extremely sharp, especially when new, so you don't want to cut yourself. Sometimes you'll be like halfway through your finger before you realize how sharp it is. And you don't even feel anything because it's so sharp. So yeah, it's pretty easy. Just harvesting it in little chunks like that. And once you have a full bowl, bag it up. You can weigh it up if you want the bags to be specifically 1 pound, but if you're just doing this for your own use, it's probably going to be fine just to put in an appropriate bag and refrigerate it, or start to use it that day. Check out the links below for more information from the top sprouting books I recommend, to get some great sprouting accessories that make your sprouting easier, and also some sprouting seeds and other accessories if you're looking to bring this practice into your daily life. And it's so rewarding, and I really encourage you to do that. So check out those links and keep me posted on the results you're getting from bringing sprouts into your life. These beautiful sunflowers from the sunflower sprouts, a result of the compost heap we have here. And it's an important part of the whole cycle of growing sprouts. You have to have a place to dispose of and compost the soil from the trays. And this is a big one because there's roughly 250 trays of sprouts going through here per week, so they all get dumped here, and it's been going for a while, so it's a pretty big pile. But if you're just doing a few, it's not going to get anywhere near this big. It's going to compost before then. But you have to keep that in mind. You can always hire someone to take away your pile of composted mats, they call them, once in a while. And as you can see, it's probably pretty easy to just compost in your own house. And if you have regular compost pickup or garbage pickup, hopefully you're not throwing these in the garbage, but they should ideally go to a farm where they can be composted if you don't live on one, or disposed of in the appropriate manner. So in your own personal use with sprouts, you can eat anywhere from a small handful every day to doing a full-on Hippocrates type of lifestyle. So in the Hippocrates Health Institute, they eat a lot of different sprouts in a variety of forms, mostly in large salads, but also in green juice. So if you're wanting to do a very high sprout diet, such as the one at the Buckwheat Health Institute, which can be very effective for working with and reversing a wide variety of diseases, you're going to be looking at multiple trays of sprouts that you've just seen per day. So to give you a rough idea of what that might look like if you're wanting to incorporate this in your lifestyle, I'll just explain what you're going to get from each tray and how many trays a day. As one person, you're going to need to get a certain amount of produce. So say for every day you're wanting to drink 1 liter of green sprout juice, and this is assuming you're drinking the Hippocrates recipe, which is half of the total juice content is cucumber and celery in equal portions, and the other half in equal portions is sunflower and pea shoots. So to get 1 liter of juice per day of that combination, or you might be drinking it all at once, or you might be drinking it two separate times in a day, or you can even do more if you're really needing that. But anyways, to get 1 liter of green juice that's half sprouts, you're going to need half a pound each of the pea shoots and sunflower sprouts. So if you plant the trays as thick as you saw in my videos, you're going to get a yield of roughly 1 pound per those trays for the pea shoots and the sunflower sprouts. So if you take that into account, as well as the fact that you're probably going to be wanting to have sprout salads, and this you're obviously going to be using a lot smaller volume of sprouts as opposed to juicing them and getting a lot of juice, but you're moving through a lot more sprouts that way. So if you're using both of those, taking salads in as well as doing the juice, so what you're looking at roughly is 3/4 of each of those trays of sunflower as well as pea shoots, and then you're also probably going to be using some wheatgrass, and you get roughly half a pound per yield of one tray that you saw in the videos of how densely I was planting them. And so if you're using half a pound every 2 days, that's probably a realistic amount because you're not consuming large volumes, but you do need to juice a significant amount roughly to get around 4 ounces twice a day. So realistically what you're looking at is 4 trays each of sunflower and pea shoots per week that you're growing, and 1.5 to 2 trays if you're really doing wheatgrass enemas or wheatgrass implants, and taking in wheatgrass and perhaps using it for other applications as well. If you're wanting to do it to that extent, you might be able to get by on 1 tray of wheatgrass a week if you're just doing small shots once or twice a day for every day. So just keep that in mind and think of the space you're going to need to accommodate that many trays rotating through at a time, because it's roughly a 7 to 10 day cycle from soaking to full maturation. So after they've been planted, after 2 days, it's roughly 1 week, or a little bit less, a 5-day cycle once they've been planted, or up to a week. So if you keep that in mind, you know you're going to always have that many trays going through, and if you have more people in your family that are going to be engaged in this, you have to shift the numbers of trays of what you're planting around, Also pay attention to what your yields are, what you're getting in terms of what you're wanting to be consuming. Just increase the trays if you need to, or decrease them if you're finding you're throwing too many sprouts out at the end of the week into the compost. You don't want to be wasting energy in that way, of course. I hope you enjoyed those videos, and I wish you good luck on your first sprouting experience, or perhaps refining your process of sprouting. Perhaps I've shed some light on some things that have helped you with your current sprouting operation that you have going on, if you do have one going on. Regardless, take care and embrace life without limits.